Libra. She sat alone on her balcony that night, sipping quiet tea, thinking nothing of it. The same enemies who mocked her earlier in the day still laughed in their hidden group chats, still whispered in circles, still plotted silently behind her back. They thought they were smart. They thought she was weak. They thought they could keep playing with her light, pretending to love her in public, while poisoning her name behind the scenes. But as the clock struck 3:33 a.m., a sudden fierce wind blew through the city. Windows rattled, candles flickered, and she felt it. It wasn't a normal breeze. It wasn't just weather. It was a sign. Something had shifted. Not emotionally, not mentally, spiritually. Within 7 days, everything changed. One by one, the masks began to fall. Secrets were exposed. Their fake alliances crumbled. They lost jobs. They lost favor. They lost sleep. They lost control. Every single person who conspired against her fell. Not by her hand, but by a higher force they never saw coming. Scandals, exposure, illness, loss, sudden betrayals. Not random events, but consequences. They weren't just removed. They weren't simply distanced. They were wiped out. And she didn't have to scream. She didn't need revenge. She didn't beg for justice. She simply remained in her place and watched everything rearrange. Because when heaven decides it's time, no enemy stands a chance. No plot can survive. No darkness can hold its grip. She was elevated while they were erased. Drop this in the comments right now. Remove who must be removed. Say it, and watch what unfolds. Because Libra, what's coming for you will leave you speechless. Not in fear, but in awe. This isn't your battle to fight. You don't need to lift a finger. You don't need to wish them harm. Heaven is already orchestrating everything. And those who thought they had the last word? They forgot. You were never alone. The law of return is here. Libra, you've always believed in fairness. You've always trusted that what's done in the dark will be brought into the light. But lately, you've watched people test the limits. They didn't just cross boundaries, they tried to break them. They slandered you when you weren't looking. They copied you, competed with you, and smiled like they were proud of you. They stood beside you, but never stood up for you. And still, you remained silent, not because you were weak, but because you trusted in something higher. What they didn't realize is this: you were never without protection. You've been covered by divine eyes the entire time. You weren't overlooked, you were watched over. And now, the energy is shifting. The same scale they thought was tipped in their favor is beginning to correct itself. One by one, those who took advantage of your grace are about to experience the weight of what they did. Libra, this isn't coincidence. This is the law of return. It never forgets, it never misses, it never fails. Everything they sent out to hurt you is finding its way back, not through your hands, but through the balance of the universe. They tried to take credit for your ideas. They tried to drain your joy, interrupt your peace, and delay your blessings. But they forgot. What is stolen never lasts, and what is built on betrayal always collapses. Now, you're going to witness a great reversal. Those who rose by stepping on you will fall by the same path they used to climb. They will lose the very things they thought they secured. They will watch what they once controlled slip away. And they won't understand why their strength is fading, why their influence is shrinking, why everything they touch starts breaking. But you'll know, Libra. You'll know it's the return. The quiet, final return of everything they did to you. Returning to them. This is not revenge. This is spiritual correction. This is your confirmation that your silence was never wasted, that your tears were never ignored, that your pain was never in vain. The energy field around you is cleansing, and anything or anyone who is not aligned with your purpose is being removed. Not gently, not slowly, but completely. Because justice, true justice, isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the silence that does the most damage, and this, Libra, is the beginning of their silence. Why enemies stay close to Libra? Libra, let's go deeper. Because not every enemy shows up loud, aggressive, or obvious. Some of the most dangerous ones come smiling. They come as friends, as support systems, as loyal companions, but only when they think you're useful. Your calm nature unsettles people who are always chasing noise. Your ability to stay balanced in chaos makes them feel exposed. They see how you can walk into a room and change the atmosphere without trying, and it bothers them, because deep down, they wish they had that kind of peace. They don't understand how you stay graceful, how you choose kindness over drama, how you're able to forgive and still walk away without bitterness. That grace, that light, it threatens what they've tried to hide inside themselves. So instead of healing, they target you. They gossip to feel powerful. They stir drama to break your rhythm. They play mind games, hoping you'll lose control. But here's what they don't realize. You've outgrown their chaos. You've reached a place where you don't chase answers. You observe. You stay quiet. You let actions speak. You let the divine reveal who's who. Because now, this is not your season to fight. This is your season to witness. The same people who pretended to be close to you are being exposed through their own choices. They're slipping. They're contradicting themselves. They're revealing their true intentions, not through words, but through patterns. And you don't have to lift a single finger. You don't have to call them out. You don't need proof, because heaven saw it all, and what heaven sees, it corrects. They wanted to be near you, to feel powerful. They studied you. They tried to copy your spirit, but they couldn't replicate your soul. And that's why they're breaking down, because what they tried to steal wasn't surface level. It was sacred. And sacred energy always protects itself. So now the balance is shifting. The masks are cracking, and soon the same ones who clung to your light to stay visible will fade into their own shadows. This isn't your punishment, it's your protection. You didn't push them away, they disqualified themselves by trying to harm what God was building in you. And justice? It may take time, but it never forgets. And right now, Libra, it's on the move. The massive cosmic cleansing. Libra, what's coming next is not just about you. It's not just about your pain. It's not just about your enemies. This is bigger. This is a cleansing on a spiritual level. Across the board, people who lied, manipulated, and pretended to care are being dealt with. Not quietly, not softly, but completely. Everyone who took advantage of the kind-hearted, everyone who used their position to create confusion, everyone who built their confidence by tearing others down. They're all included in this great sweep. You've probably noticed it already. People are growing distant, suddenly quiet, trying to disappear before the spotlight finds them. But it's too late. The energy around them has shifted. Their own choices have spoken for them. There's a reason why the people who once bragged about hurting others are now restless. There's a reason they're getting nervous, paranoid, or withdrawn. Because even if the world didn't catch them, heaven did. They mocked your tears. They celebrated your setbacks. They felt powerful when you were weak. But they didn't know. The same door they slammed in your face was sitting right above a trap they set for themselves. And now, that trap is opening. This is not about karma. This is about truth. And truth always collects what it's owed. When someone constantly uses deception, they start living inside it. And when they live inside it too long, they lose touch with reality and think they're untouchable. But nothing is hidden anymore. Everything is being exposed. The spiritual realm has pulled the alarm. The ones who played with your heart, who drained your strength, who laughed while you healed, they're being called into account. Not by you, not by people, but by a force higher than both. This is a massive cleansing, a reset, a divine correction that cannot be escaped. And Libra, you're not being punished, you're being protected, you're being positioned. And soon you'll realize the very people who tried to hold you back are being removed so they'll never get the chance again. Signs that someone is about to be wiped out. Libra, not every enemy leaves with noise. Some leave quietly. Some are removed in silence, without warning, without explanation. But the spiritual realm never moves without giving signs. Before someone is completely wiped out of your life, there are always signals. You just have to be still enough to recognize them. Let's look closely at the 4 key signs that someone's season in your life is over. Not because you said so, but because the spiritual realm has decided it. Sign number 1, they become uncomfortable around you, even when nothing is said. They used to talk freely. Now they fidget. Avoid eye contact. Keep conversations short. They feel exposed. Because your energy can now see through their intentions. Your light bothers their shadows. You haven't changed, but they feel unsafe being around the truth that radiates from you. Sign number 2. Their name starts showing up in unexpected ways. Suddenly, people mention them to you. You overhear something that reveals what was once hidden. You find out things you weren't looking for. Messages, conversations, behaviors that make it clear they were never for you. The truth begins to surface like oil floating on water. It rises on its own. You don't have to dig. Heaven starts handing you the proof. Sign number 3. They begin losing access to the places where they once caused harm. If they used to manipulate people around you, they can't anymore. If they had control over something that affected your peace, it's taken from them. Their position shifts, their influence fades, their voice becomes quiet. It's as if their power has been unplugged, and that's exactly what has happened. The divine has cut their connection to your journey. Sign number 4. Your spirit feels lighter when they're not around. You don't feel drained, you don't feel confused, you don't feel that tension you couldn't explain. You feel free, and that freedom is not a coincidence. It's confirmation. It means your spirit is finally resting because the threat has been identified. Libra, these signs are not to scare you, they're to prepare you. Because when the universe begins to wipe out energy that's blocking your growth, you won't always get a loud goodbye. Sometimes people just vanish. Sometimes doors close quietly. Sometimes their role in your story fades without warning. When this happens, don't chase, don't argue, don't try to force clarity. Accept the shift, bless the silence, and release them. Because when someone's time in your life is over, holding on will only bring you down with them. Let them go. Their part is done. And what's ahead for you, Libra, requires no enemies in the room. The wiping out is spiritual, not physical. Libra, let's make something very clear right now. This isn't about hurting anyone. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about wishing bad things on those who hurt you. This is not about destruction. It's about restoration. You see, true justice doesn't always look loud or violent. It doesn't need shouting. It doesn't need a courtroom. It doesn't even need people to believe your side of the story. Because when the divine steps in, justice becomes spiritual. And that kind of justice, it doesn't use force. It uses truth. When someone builds a connection with you on lies, when they pretend to care but secretly compete, when they smile while secretly hoping you fail, when they show up in your life wearing a mask, that connection becomes spiritually unstable. It cannot hold. No matter how convincing they were, truth always cracks the foundation. And when the foundation starts to break, everything else collapses with it. Their energy starts to drain. You'll notice it. They look tired, their light dims, they feel heavy, even when nothing has happened yet. That's the beginning of the removal. Their circle collapses too. The people who once hyped them up begin to see through them. Fake friendships start breaking. They lose the audience they once performed for. Suddenly, they're no longer the center of attention because people begin to sense the shift. Then comes the part they didn't see coming. They become invisible. They once had influence, presence, attention. They once could speak and be heard. But now their voice goes unheard. Their presence becomes unwanted. They try to step in, and they're ignored. That's not random. That's spiritual interference. Because their time in your story has ended, and heaven has made sure their spotlight turns off. And then they lose access. Access to your favor, access to your name, access to your energy, access to the very path they tried to block. They may still watch you, they may still talk about you. They may still talk about you, they may still pretend they don't, but they feel the distance now. They feel that they can no longer reach what they used to touch. They feel the protection around you growing stronger, and the wall between you growing higher. And they don't know how to stop it. Because here's the truth, Libra, you didn't push them away. The energy pushed them out. The spiritual realm has declared them unfit to walk with you, because your next chapter requires clean hands, honest hearts, and loyal souls. And anyone who doesn't meet that standard is gently or suddenly being removed. You don't have to fight. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to warn them. All you have to do is stay still long enough to watch the cleansing take place. You will see things shift. You will notice how peace starts to return. You'll feel your energy lifting again. You'll stop second-guessing yourself. You'll sleep better. You'll breathe easier. Because that draining force, that jealous soul, that toxic connection that pretended to be love or loyalty or friendship will be gone. Not by accident, but by spiritual law, by divine timing, by the hands of the Most High, who saw what you didn't, who heard what you weren't told, who protected you from what you couldn't see. And Libra, that's why this isn't physical. It's not drama, it's not a scandal, it's not a scene, it's spiritual cleansing. And it's happening now, around you, for you, and through you. Let the divine do what it needs to do. Stand still, stay clean, stay quiet, because what's being wiped out was never meant to stay. Why you were never supposed to retaliate. Libra, I know what it felt like. The betrayal, the silence when you cried out, the smirks when you were hurting, the lies that spread faster than your truth. You wanted to scream. You wanted to pull back the curtain and show everyone what they were really doing. You wanted to expose the snakes hiding behind smiles. You wanted to call them out, one by one. And who could blame you? You were attacked for no reason. You were targeted for simply being kind. You were dragged through situations you never asked for, just because your light bothered the wrong people. But Libra, you held your tongue. You didn't throw stones. You didn't hit back. You chose silence over scandal. You chose peace over proving your point. You chose to keep walking forward while they stayed behind in gossip, lies, and manipulation. And I need you to know this. That decision? It wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. Because had you retaliated, had you lowered yourself to their level, you would have become entangled in the same energy they were drowning in. And that's exactly what the enemy wanted. To pull you into chaos. To drag you into confusion. To make you look like the villain in a story they created. But you didn't fall for it. You stayed grounded. You kept your head up. You let the truth protect you while they tried to bury it. And now, heaven is stepping in. Now, the same lies they told will circle back. The same traps they set for you, they're stepping into them themselves. The same people they tried to turn against you are now questioning them. Because spiritual laws are not delayed forever. They work in silence, they build quietly. But when they move with power. Libra, retaliation gives a quick result, but it leaves you empty. It may feel good in the moment to prove someone wrong, to clap back to get even, but afterward, it leaves a residue, a heavy feeling in your spirit, because your soul was never created to carry hate. That's why heaven kept pulling you back. That's why your spirit wouldn't let you stoop low. That's why every time you wanted to react, something stopped you. It wasn't fear, it wasn't passivity, it was protection. Because while they were out there trying to ruin your name, your creator was writing your comeback. A comeback so powerful, you wouldn't need to say anything at all. Your healing would speak, your growth would speak, your peace would speak. And their fall? That would be the loudest part of all. You see, when heaven brings justice, it doesn't just restore what you lost, it exposes what was hidden. It reveals the truth in front of everyone, so that your hands stay clean while your enemies are revealed by their own fruit. You didn't have to defend yourself because the truth was already defending you. You didn't have to clear your name because time is clearing it for you. And you didn't have to clap back because their downfall is clapping louder than any response you could have given. Libra, you were never meant to fight that battle. You were meant to win without swinging. You were never supposed to stoop to their level because you were always being prepared for something higher. Now, it's their turn to sit in silence. It's their turn to watch everything they built on lies come crashing down. It's their turn to explain themselves, but they won't be able to. Because you didn't speak, heaven did, and heaven is still speaking. And when it does, the whole world listens. The era of invisible Libras is over. Libra, you've spent a long time in the background, not because you lacked value, not because you weren't ready, but because heaven was hiding you. Yes, hiding you. Not as punishment, but as protection. You were hidden in plain sight. You walked among people who didn't see your full worth. They saw glimpses, but they never saw you completely. They treated your presence as optional, your wisdom as extra, and your loyalty as common. But you weren't common. You were simply covered by timing. You see, your silence wasn't weakness. Your invisibility wasn't failure. It was preparation. You were in a season of stillness so you could grow in secret, develop your strength quietly, and sharpen your spiritual awareness. But now, that season is over. The veil has lifted. The time of shrinking, hiding, holding back, it's done. Because what's ahead requires your visibility. What's ahead requires your presence. What's ahead requires the full version of you, not the watered-down version others were comfortable with. Libra, for too long you've been underestimated. You've walked into rooms and been overlooked. You've offered your gifts only to have them ignored. You've spoken truth and they laughed. You shared your heart and they mocked it. You gave your time, your energy, your love, and they used it and walked away. But here's the shift you didn't see coming. The same people who ignored your value are about to need what only you carry. The same ones who mocked your dreams will now want to stand next to them. The same mouths that once whispered about you will now speak your name in respect. The same people who didn't believe in your vision will now try to benefit from it. Because when heaven lifts someone, it does so in full view. And when you're elevated by divine hands, no one can look away. You didn't beg for this moment. You didn't manipulate to get here. You didn't compromise to climb. You waited, you healed, you obeyed. And now, the reward is rising. Doors that once rejected you will swing open on their own. Rooms that once didn't invite you will rearrange themselves to make space for you. Your voice will no longer be background noise. It will become a sound people seek. But Libra, here's the beautiful part. This rise is not for revenge. This elevation is not for ego. This platform is not for proving them wrong. It's for blessing others from a healed place. Because what's the use of rising if your heart remains bitter? What's the use of shining if your light only burns people? You are not rising to boast. You are rising to guide. You are not being seen to get even. You are being seen to serve a purpose that can only be fulfilled through you. And those who tried to keep you hidden, their own platforms will begin to collapse. Not because you wished it, not because you celebrated it, but because their elevation was built on false ground. You took the long road. You paid attention to your soul. You protected your peace. You didn't cheat the process. So now, while others fall for shortcuts, you will stand because you stayed true. Let their downfall teach you compassion. Let your elevation teach you humility. Let your breakthrough whisper what words never could. Because this rise isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it is unforgettable. The era of invisible Libras is over. Now you walk into every room knowing this. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not overlooked. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And nothing can stop what heaven is releasing over your life now. Be still and watch them fall. Libra, they really believed they had ended you. They truly thought that by turning people against you, by throwing dirt on your name, by pushing you into the shadows, they were winning. They thought that the silence around you was proof that you were finished. They thought your quiet season meant defeat. They thought you were broken, fragile, easy to remove. But what they didn't know is that you were never buried. You were planted. And while they were laughing, you were growing. In the dark, in secret, without needing anyone to see you. Your roots were stretching deeper. Your wisdom was expanding. Your spirit was becoming stronger. You were becoming more than they ever expected you to be. And now, your growth is unstoppable. Because what's rooted deeply cannot be shaken by shallow attacks. What is planted by heaven cannot be uprooted by man. Libra, you no longer need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your light to those who live in shadows. Let them laugh. Let them whisper. Let them underestimate you. Because while they mock in darkness, you are being crowned in light. They have no idea how powerful you've become. They can't comprehend how untouchable your soul is now. They don't realize that the very pain they caused was the same fire that purified you. The storm didn't break you, it built you. The betrayal didn't destroy you, it revealed who was never real. The silence didn't erase you, it strengthened your spirit. And now, you're about to step into a season so bright that even your enemies will have no choice but to watch in silence. Libra, this is not just your rise. This is your divine reward. For your patience, for your quiet endurance, for every moment you cried in private and smiled in public. For every time you chose peace instead of retaliation. You survived what they thought would end you. You overcame what they hoped would break you. And now, you are about to witness a reversal so powerful that even you will be speechless. They will watch, and they will fall. Not by your hands, but by the hands of the divine, by the law of truth, by the consequence of energy returned. If you're ready for this shift, Libra, comment below. Wipe out every enemy and lift me higher. Say it boldly. Say it with faith. Say it as a declaration over your life, because you are stepping into something sacred, something earned, something protected. And if this message found your soul at the right time, subscribe now, because this space is made for people like you, those who rise silently and shine forever. Libra, what's coming will leave you speechless, and the same ones who doubted you, they'll be left in silence. Not because you said anything, but because heaven spoke first. And heaven, Libra, is not finished with you yet, but it has surely and finally finished with them.